I don't feel alone. We just settled in and it already feels like home.
You're listening to the Feels Like Home podcast with Mike Throne and Marty Ford. Powered by Horizon. This is big. This is gig.
Well, we're great. It's so great to be back again. Another week goes by here at Feels Like Home, and I think, for lack of a better term, we're just we're busted through. We're trying to get through that cold spell that we had now. Marty's, unfortunately for Marty, like this week, Marty is in the freezing basement of his home. I am nice and warm in my house.
Since we moved the studio to the basement, this is the first time we've had like below zero temperatures, and it was a cold episode.
So I just want you to understand that not only does Marty do everything for this thing, I show up and talk, okay, but he had to sit in this freezing basement tonight and do the podcast. So he wasn't bundled up or anything like that, but I appreciate the hard work and the frostbite that Marty's had to endure to put this thing together today.
Whatever it takes, Mike. I'm here for the podcast.
You're a gamer.
That's right.
You're a gamer. Well, we are really excited this week, kind of playing off last week's theme of we had Tyler Woodbridge last week to talk about the game show, and We Are a Family. And then we're playing off of that this week with JT, Jalen Snowden, who is a Chillicothe guy. He's raised here and has since moved to Chicago. He just had a film in the Chicago Film Festival called A Bad, Bad Day. And we're super psyched for his, and I think it comes through. He's got, he's a real thoughtful, knowledgeable guy about the craft of film. And what excites me about him is his young mind is full of ideas, and I think it's going to be cool to watch them roll out in the future here. I think, I kind of went into this with a little bit of background, because while he was pulling things together, I went to a concert with some friends of mine to see My Morning Jacket in Chicago, and we met up with JT later in the evening. And unfortunately, one of our group did not have their ID. It's a long story, but so he couldn't get in anywhere. And so it ended up where I was like, I drove the whole way there, and I was tired, so I ended up leaving. We hung out for a little bit and had a couple drinks and just chilled and chatted up JT about the film and so on. But then I just bailed with the guy that didn't have his ID, and I went home and went to bed because I'm old and they're not. So, but they stayed out till 4 a.m. So,
kudos to them.
Yeah, exactly. They can do it. I can't. If I stay out till 4 a.m, I have to sleep till 4 p.m. in the afternoon, and then try to get sleep that night.
It just messes up your next 2 days.
Yeah, exactly. So, but I think this is a really good opportunity to have JT on. And, with that said, here is filmmaker Jalen Snowden of A Bad, Bad Day. Well, we are very excited to have
let's do it.
Someone with a great local tie, but he's not living here right now. This is actually not our first time doing that, because Ben Hartsock obviously was one that we talked to where he didn't live here anymore. But JT, Jalen Snowden, now living in Chicago, graduated from Chillicothe, right?
Yeah. Somehow.
Yeah, right. But I'll let him introduce himself. He's got some exciting things going on right now, and I just let him tell his story a little bit.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? I'm Jalen Snowden. I just released my first short film, A Bad, Bad Day. We just got done with a really long film festival run. It's slowly starting to come to an end. There's still a couple I'm waiting on. Hopefully a hometown one coming soon in Columbus, and I have one already booked for Cincinnati in August. So that's real exciting. And just got done with all that, and so now I'm working on what I do next.
And as I watched the trailer, I saw a lot of familiar sights in that. So I assume that you filmed the majority of it in Chillicothe?
Yeah. So originally when I first wrote it, I had just graduated high school, and that's when I wrote it, because I had actually no pun intended, bad day when I I was late for work. Daylight savings had just happened, and my phone was the worst phone in the world, and you had to wrap it around the cord a million times, and it died. And when I woke up, I was I thought I was going to be early for work. I was late. It was some nonsense. And so I started writing it, and when I was living in Chillicothe, so I was picturing Chillicothe in my head when I was writing it. And then a couple years went by, and I finally had the gut instinct to start doing what I do. And I needed a restaurant, and restaurants are to shut anything down for a film is super expensive, and I don't have any money. So I needed to thank God my mom has a pizza shop in Chillicothe, Giovanni's Pizza, and I was able to shoot a good chunk of what I think the heart of the film is in Chillicothe, which is nice because I got to go home and have my hometown in the film. And then I shot a couple of scenes in Cincinnati when I was still living there, and then I had it for a while. I almost sat for a year where I just had that bit of footage, and I still needed to end it, and I couldn't figure out how I was going to end it. And it wasn't until I was a couple of days before I was moving to Chicago that I was like, ooh, I think I want to finish this, which is a horrible plan. If you have boxes in your living room and you don't even have your TV hung up anymore, it's a bad idea to start setting up tripods and stuff, So I filmed a little bit more, and I was like, I got the bug, man. I can't stop now. I gotta keep going. And so I pack up the U-Haul. We're driving to Chicago, and all I keep thinking about is, all right, 3 days, I'll get everything unpacked, I'll get the living room cleaned up, and I'm going to finish this thing. And so I finished the film in Chicago, which is nice because it has every single place that I've lived in is in a piece of it, which is nice.
And how did this idea, I mean, you mentioned that, you had this incident happen to you where you had the phone and so on, but how does it go from that idea to actually becoming something that you can put 15 minutes of film on, and probably more after you get through the cuts and edits and so on? But how does that process go for you?
So you can only call yourself a filmmaker for so long without making something. And that's not a rule, but that's just kind of how I was feeling. I have to put something out. And a lot of things I write, I dream big, and some of them, you're like, I can't do this with no budget, no, crew or anything like that. So you need to get down to basics and just brass tacks, what can I make? And I had that screenplay that I had wrote, and it was way, way different, but I knew I could do it. I knew I had a location I could use, which was, Giovanni's in Chillicothe, and then I have a girlfriend, she can be the girl. I have my brothers, they can be in it, I can make them act, and I can make my mom act. But making other people act, if you ask people for their time, you should probably pay them, and I just wasn't in a position to do that. So I had to get creative, and I like being put in a corner and being backed up and trying to figure out how I'm going to get myself out of this. And so it all pretty much comes from that. It's just instinct and gut. If you can't sleep at night until you get something done and out of your head, then you're on the right track. And that's what I had to do.
So did you, when you were in high school, let's say, did you always have this idea that you wanted to be involved in film and put things down that were either your stories or other people's stories? Has that been your passion for quite a while?
Yeah, actually. And it was actually something I've been thinking about a lot lately, now that I'm kind of done with my first, piece of I'm actually proud of work. I kind of going back and just thinking about how things started, and I want to be able to put a timeline together. And I was just I was pretty happy because in high school, I'm a YouTube generation kid, so I almost had a computer in my house my whole life, and it sucked for a while. The internet sucked, and I wasn't able to upload to YouTube or anything like that. But once the first iPhone came out that was, able to be bought, that wasn't $1,000, I found like an iPhone that had a decent camera and you could upload from the iPhone. It was just game on. I had always used my mom's camera. She had this like old VHS camera, and I would, press and play when I wanted like a cut, and I didn't even know how programs worked. And once YouTube came along, it was game on. And I just think that was like, I don't know, it's just like, it seems so tangible to, upload, and it's just up there, and it's up to you. And I mean, it's just like how you guys have a podcast. Like, you guys are able to do this with no network or, nothing but, a good old fashioned Wi-Fi signal and a couple, microphones, and you're able to do something that would have to have you'd have to install a crane and a system and, get a radio signal. Like that's it's insane. I made this film. Like, you couldn't have done this in any other time period. I used my iPhone for the whole thing, and I just used tricks and like little sneaky movie magic to get something done. It's only going up from here.
Yeah, we do live in.
When you consider the way that.
Go ahead, Mike.
When you consider that we live in a time that, literally technology is advancing at such a high rate. I think that's what Marty was about to say too. That you're right. What we used to do with big suitcase type cameras, we can literally hold in the palm of our hand now.
Yeah, for sure. The iPhone is definitely a game changer. I mean,
that was that's I think the best thing that's ever happened. And it helped me tremendously, because I first shot the first piece I tried to shoot of this, I shot on film on my 16 millimeter camera, because, I do have that soft spot for film, and I wanted it to look cool and punk rock, and I wanted to look like I made it, like with no money and with a camera and a dream. But I got my footage back, and it was out of focus. There was nothing even on the roll. I was just, pretty discouraged, and I spent $200 on a minute and a half of footage. And then I just, for $5.99, I upgraded my iCloud storage and could shoot as much video as I wanted to. I mean, it's incredible.
Yeah, and it's really sort of a grassroots effort too. You talk about, using your mom's restaurant, having your brothers and and so on be a part of it. There's a part of that feels like you put it, punk rock, right? Like, you're just bringing this conglomerate of people around you to kind of just get this story down on some sort of video or whatever you want to call it. Yeah, and what's funny is, so after I left Chillicothe, I think around like it was 2020. It was the pandemic. I moved in the middle of a pandemic, and I do not recommend. That is not the smartest thing to do. Is go to a bigger city and be around more people. But it was it was just like I don't know. I wanted to make sure that I started making stuff, and then I started working on actual films, like people that were shooting in Cincinnati, like big movie productions, and I got the best film school I could ever get by working on this film called The Bike Riders, and it has Tom Hardy and Austin Butler and Jodie Comer, Norman Reedus, a whole bunch of actors. And I watched this director who's got all this talent, and he doesn't care about the talent. He cares about his people. And, he always you could walk up to him at any point and just say, "What's up?" And he'd be like, "How's it going, Jalen?" Like, he remembered everybody's name and made everybody feel like they were at home. And I just was like, man, that's how it's done. Then I've worked on other movie sets. Like, I worked on this Robert De Niro movie, and I'm not going to kiss and tell, but some people were not so nice. And, you start figuring out like how you want to, run your army, your little set. Yeah. I mean, you're not rolling with budgets yet. But you will be someday, and everything that you work in, whether it's this film or the other films that you mentioned that you worked on that were directed by somebody else, you're picking up morsels to take with you into the next project and the next project and the next project. That's part of the creative process, right? Yeah, no, absolutely. And what's really like, I've done very smart, and I'm not saying that I am a smart guy, but I do have my moments, and I've made it a point to, whenever I'm on a set that's not my own, I'm asking questions about every department, because I'm super curious, and I want to make sure when I'm in charge of people that I know. I'm not saying where's the sound guy. I'm saying direct, like, what they would find incredible that I know. And so that's always been like a huge thing for me, is I want to know the insides and outs. So once I get there, it isn't a foreign place. I want it to be a very familiar place, because then you can make it home. And that's all I want to do, is make sure it feels like summer camp for people. And that's what kind of film sets feel like, because you're with these people for 4 months, and sometimes you're in pouring rain, or you're in the coldest temperatures on earth. And then after that, you never see them again. And so you need to make sure that you give those people that are making your, vision come to fruition. You got to make sure that they feel like they were a part of it and feel good about their time being there, because you're asking a lot.
Yeah, I think that in that industry, there's an opportunity to really find out who people really are when you're seeing the backside of everything, right? And I could see where there might be some people who disappoint. Sometimes sometimes it's tough to meet your heroes, right? And so I could see how important that is for you.
Don't meet your heroes, man.
Yeah, right. But it's important, I think, as you grow and take on these other projects, that you're building the house that you want, right? And so how you want to operate as a director, how you want to treat your people, because what will happen is when you go to call them for the next project and they had a great experience the first time, it's going to be that much easier to build a cast and a crew and all the things that you need that second time around. So I think what you're doing is important.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if you make your bed, you got to lay in it. So, I mean, that's on you. I mean, you can be mean all you want, and you can, everyone has their days. I get that. And it's a high stress environment, and you're talking about not $100. You're talking about sometimes 100 million. So I get the stress. The stress makes sense, but we got to realize that we're playing dress up and make believe. So why don't we put a smile on our face? 'Cause it ain't that serious. We're good.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, we were just talking about meeting your heroes. So who are the people that, as you watched film growing up, or maybe even now, that you think are some of the elites, or maybe even folks that you've felt like your style emulates them in some ways?
So my biggest inspiration, and someone that if I have to write a director's bio or, talk about myself, I have to bring up this guy that I found just on studying film on my own time. And it's this guy named John Cassavetes. And he's the coolest person I've ever heard about. He was, run and gun, we don't need permits. We don't need a budget. Natural is key. And, I just love the idea of, we don't need these studios. We need to tell stories, and story is number one. Story is number one. Story is number one. That's how I always believe that. No matter what, I need a good story. And so John Cassavetes, he's the godfather of independent filmmaking, and I love independent filmmaking. But, some of the other people that really inspire me, I really love Dick Cavett. I know that's a crazy, insane thing for someone that's 27 to, have one of their heroes be Dick Cavett, but I just love the way he would interview people and the way he talks to people and gives them and he has a little bit of a charm and stuff. I love Dick Cavett. And then if you need a big name, I love Marty Scorsese is my number one. I love his career. I want to follow his path of I'll make a Goodfellas, but I also want to make a Last Waltz. I want to do music stuff. I want to do docs. I want to do a film about God. I want to do a film about this, and it never has to be one thing. I love the way he's done it, and he's still reinventing himself today. I just got done. It took me 8 days, but I finally finished his movie, Killers of the Flower Moon, and I just was watching it going, I cannot believe new stuff. I don't even know how he does it.
Yeah, you're talking about a brilliant mind.
Yeah, and the reason why I laughed there was I started watching it last night, and I had gotten up super early yesterday, and as I was sitting there watching it, I was like, man, I am not going to make it through this movie. I wonder how long it is. I didn't even look at how long it is. 3 hours and 30 minutes. There was no way I was getting through it was as tired as it was. So I said to my wife, this thing is going to take me 6 weeks to do rather than 2 weeks.
Yeah, I was treating it like a mini series. I was watching little pieces, and then I'll eventually go and try and watch it all the way through. But I mean, 3 hours and 30, you're asking a lot out of me. I will never have a film that long. I love hour 20 is talk about a sweet spot. I love an hour 20 little rom-com or like a slacker film, coming of age 120. It's so nice.
Yeah. Cassavetes to me is a really interesting choice too, because and I wonder, he was an actor really before he started making film. He was in Rosemary's Baby and Edge of the City and things like that. And he actually, I think he got an Academy Award. He's in The Dirty Dozen.
Right.
I think he got an Academy Award nomination for that. You think it's different for folks that were actors before they were directors, really?
Yes and no. I mean, there's ones that are great that weren't, and there's ones that are great that are, and there's also ones that are bad that, do it. But there's something about being an actor, because you have to be able to talk to actors, and that is something that I'm going to have to, really, I'm going to have to hone my craft on that one on the next thing I'm going to do. And the next thing I do is it's going to be a little bit of a bigger deal and bigger production, and I'm going to try and have, work with actors. And I respect actors, but they can be a bit rough to deal with sometimes, because they think that they're God's gift to earth, and they might be, but we all still got to work together. So it's a tough battle. But yeah, no, actors usually, if you know how to talk to actors and you know how to be, you get to their level, how to like stoop to them and get them performance out of them, because you've had to do it yourself. So yeah, and everyone should try and act. If you're going to direct, you should try every single thing that you can. Like I said, knowing everything only can make you better, not worse. So
well, I think from an actor standpoint,
to benefit from producer side of it too, right?
Oh, I'm sorry. What was that?
I said, I think there's a lot to learn from the production side of it too, producers and so on.
Yeah, no, and that was always a thing that I never really knew what a producer even did, because you'd see there's like 100 different producers on every project, and when you're like watching the credits, so like, what do they even do? And I found out they don't really do too much except give you a bunch of money, but there's some that are really, really good and really hands-on and really, really cool. I worked with this girl or this lady. Her last name was Green. I can't remember. Sarah Green. She was the coolest. She was avant-garde. She was, a mid-century modern house walking. And I was reading the book Just Kids, which is Patti Smith and Robert Mapplethorpe's book. And she looked at my book and she goes, "I miss Robert." And I look at her and I'm like, I'm at craft services eating a donut. And I'm like, Robert Mapplethorpe? She goes, "Yeah, he was a good friend. I actually need to call Patty." And then she went outside and called Patti Smith. I'm like, "Yo, let me talk." I'm the one that brought it up.
That's great. Yeah, I think when you understand every aspect of the production, I mean, when you look back and see actors who have done well as a director, I mean, Clint Eastwood, just like off the top of my head, how I think being able to communicate the story, and you mentioned the story being the most important thing. And I think Hollywood messes that up sometimes these days, where they get the money in front of the story. And so I think that's the beauty of, the small film market, what you're working in, but being able to, talk the talk and understand every job that needs to happen on a set. It can only make you better as a director, but understanding how to communicate how you want the story is got to be the most important piece.
Yeah, no, that's, I mean, what's funny is you're not wrong. Hollywood, they mess up a lot, and I'm not really anti-Hollywood. Actually, I have a soft spot for old Hollywood and even new Hollywood. I just think it's I like glitz and glam, but I mean, we're throwing money we're starting to do a little better. It seems like we're in a little bit of a hot streak with, good selling, but I mean, good Lord, just because the box office doesn't mean you need to make 2, 3, and 4. And, letting things just be is nice. And I'm trying to do more of a, I want to stay independent, and I want to stay pretty small, with a budget, but try and keep it contained a little bit. I'm trying to make 5 million into 10 million. I'm doubling that, and I know that sounds like that is a lot of money for sure, but 5 million for a film is actually not that much, unfortunately. And, I kind of want to do a little bit of different things. I want to, instead of having my movies be in theaters. I would want to do like a tour, like a rock album. I want to take my movies on tour and have, come with my audience and, have a band play and have, a carnival outside. And then we all go and watch the movie in these small theaters that need a little bit of help. Like, even the Majestic, like that would be my dream. Was always like shutting down Paint Street like you guys do for the, Pizza Fest and all that. And then everyone file into the Majestic and watch a movie and then have a Q&A after and make it feel like an event more than it is a ticket you bought and, $20 popcorn. Like, I don't know. There's something about like, community and everyone coming in at once and anticipation and what if, and I would like them to see it first. People that come see it first and then we'll give it a wide release. But until then, like until I give people that actually would show up and actually care, like give them a treat, man, because money's expensive. Like, money's not what it used to be, and pizza's expensive. I mean, I don't know if you looked at a frozen pizza lately, but
yeah,
it's almost to 20. That's expensive.
That's right.
Yeah. So you mentioned that you're on the obviously A Bad Bad Day just debuted at the Chicago Film Festival this last weekend, and that you're trying to get it into other film festivals. How did it happen that you were able to get into the Chicago Festival, and is that a standard process for other film festivals, and where are you looking to go next?
Well, I'm glad you asked, because if anyone is listening to this and you're an artist and you think you want to do filmmaking, I encourage you to do it. But I am going to tell you a cautionary tale. Film festivals can be very, very scammy. You got to be smart. I did not know that. I did not go to film school. There's really not that much information on YouTube about festivals because they'll always just mention Sundance and TIFF and Tribeca. But you're like, if you get into those, congratulations. They're very hard to get into. But there's a lot of little ones that can give you a nice, it feels good when you see that you got accepted. For $45, you might get accepted and get a piece of paper and not have your film shown in a theater. It's all online, and it's like, I didn't know that. I thought if you got into a film festival, it had to have a screening, and not the case. But there are a few smaller ones that aren't even that small. They're actually like pretty decently sized that accept more art tour and more amateur films. And that was what the Chicago International Indie Film Festival was. And that was one of my, that was like my third screening at an actual venue I actually got to go to. And this one had a Q&A, which was real fun. I'm not gonna say that's what I got into the business for, but it is one of the things I do enjoy having discourse with like-minded people, my peers. All I want from this business is respect for my peers and people that are like me. I want to speak to them and just be cautious, because film festivals are very scammy and they're very expensive. And I did not know that until I failed. But it was a good fail, because now I know better. I can't wait for my next film. My next film is going to be so because I can't wait to take all these things that I lost and things that I failed at and not do them.
Yeah, totally understand that. I think it's just like anything else. If somebody thinks they can make a buck off of somebody else's hard work, they're probably going to try to do it. And so it's good to learn those lessons. It's good that you didn't have to put a lot of money into that before you did. But nevertheless, take the lesson and run with it, right?
Yeah, for sure. And I'm not saying even if it doesn't screen, it's a bad idea, because, I'm not gonna lie, I needed a little oomph, a little love, and it's like stat padding in basketball. I was going for rebounds in the fourth quarter when we're up 20, but it's nice when you see you get to put the little laurel on one of your little screenshots of your film, and it's not a bad thing. It feels good, but I'm just saying, if you don't have that much money, it ain't really worth it.
Yeah,
I understand.
So you've been talking about what comes next, and I'm interested in that, because obviously for the creative mind, things never stop. As soon as sometimes when we're in the middle of the thing, we're already thinking about the next thing, or the idea comes to mind and we're like, man, I hate to have to put that in the back burner, but I got to get the thing that I'm already involved in done. So are you starting to think about the next venture that you have, and what's that look like?
Yeah, so So basically, my next project has to do a couple things for myself, like just for me and for the future of what I want to do. And I mean, that's kind of a tall order, but I'm excited for it. I need to make that maybe makes a little bit of money. Maybe I either need to make some money or I need to get more of an audience and it be very, very professional. So I'm going to do this one way more strict, way more me not setting up my iPhone and hitting record. So also, and this sucks, but dramas don't really do that well in film festivals, and neither do rom-coms. Those are two things I kind of love. They've seen them all. I mean, they're good and refreshing to watching like a younger generation do their versions of Dazed and Confused, but it's not going to put butts in seats because they know the outcome. You got to ride into the sunset. So what really does well is horror, and I'm not really a horror guy, but I think I'm going to try and cut my teeth on a little horror short. And then I'm in a kind of a concept, I guess, idea, video, movie where it's, a scene from a movie and try and sell that to get expanded into a feature. That's wishful thinking. I'm not too certain that's how that's going to go, but it's something I really want to do. And that's a love letter to divorce. And I know that's a weird thing to love divorce, but I'm a kid of divorce, and not all days were so bad. And sometimes it was, scary, and sometimes it was fun. I don't know. I kind of have like a little bit of a soft spot for divorce. I think it made me and my brothers, if you have to share a bed and then share an air mattress with your brothers, it's something humbling about that and something kind of beautiful, man. We used to just sit there all night and just torture each other. And if it wasn't for that, I might not even know my brothers, but there's nothing, they can't lie to me. I know them. And I know my parents. Like I know both my parents. We were all five of us were broke together. So if you've been broke and share everything, it kind of makes you, it helps out a little bit with your personality when you get older in life.
You talked about,
for sure. That shared experience could be something, and it
yeah, it's all good. Though what Mike was getting ready to say is the same thing I was getting ready to say. That you can't. A shared experience. There's nothing better than teaching you life lessons that way. So that's a great way to look at it. You talked about like you love rom-coms and dramas, but they don't really do great. I guess when you're looking at the small films, the short films, and you don't really like horror, but you're going to kind of test the waters there just because they're popular. They talk, there's only 9 different story archetypes, right? Something like that. I don't know all the details of that. How do you get creative enough to create a new story, regardless of whether it's a horror or rom-com or drama? Like, where does that come from, that creative piece? Do you rely on the shared experiences that you had, or?
Yeah. So, there's like this funny thing I always see, like I've always heard comedians say, if a comedian stole your joke and you can't come up with another, hey buddy, you're not a comedian. So I don't love horror. I honestly get the heebie-jeebies from them, and I just don't like them, man. I really don't, and I can't help it. I just don't like them. But, if I can't make one, then maybe this ain't for me. Because if all I can do is tell the things that I like, well, I'm not everybody. So I've got to at least try. And where does it come from? Man, I wish I could tell you, man. It is just like how people understand math. It just comes to me all the time in random places. Sometimes I'll just be watching a movie and a character will walk across the screen and I'll expand his story in my head, daydreaming. Because, I got ADD and I can't sit still. And I'm just sitting there thinking about it's weird, because it's like almost like, damn, there is nothing new under the sun. Because how did that guy, random guy in the diner inspire this weird story in my head that kind of just took a way left turn? Or it'll just be music, man. A lot of the times it's music. I'll hear a song and immediately I have what I want it to look like in my movie. And I start a lot of things that way. Music.
Yeah, I mean, the music really can inspire things. There's countless stories of people who heard a song and it inspired them. I want to use that in a movie, and now they write something so they could just use that one song. It's everybody's inspiration comes from someplace different.
Actually, that's a really good point. Yeah, no, and that's a good point, because another thing that, like, if you don't know, you're gonna find out is licensing music is expensive as can be. That was one of the things that almost made me not finish this film. If I had not gotten my best friend Seth's band to let me use their song on a please, then I wouldn't be able, because I want a song, man. I wanted a song so bad. And originally I had wrote a lot of this film on A Day in the Life by the Beatles, when it builds up to that high crescendo. I wanted that to be a breaking point. I love that part of that song. And I never heard back from the Beatles, so I'm still waiting on that. But yeah, I was looking into like how to get people, how to get songs, and it was just so expensive, and I couldn't justify it. Also, I don't understand the lingo. I'm not a lawyer, and I was looking at all these things. I'm like, do I get to have it in this movie forever, or do I only license it for a year? Like, how does this work? How do I prove that you said yes? I don't know. Like, that's something that, I'm doing everything myself, and I didn't go to school, and I'm not that bright when it comes to, doing the right thing. So, those are things I'm starting to really like kind of, it's more on doing the right thing, get permits, be more official. But I don't know how I'll ever afford licensing without, some sort of incredible budget.
Yeah, the music.
For sure.
Yeah, the music side of thing is very confusing and can get expensive really fast. So, I actually own some music that I've written with some of my friends, and trying to protect that music is what you find as an artist is tough enough, but using it in things, with the way YouTube works, everything the algorithm finds every copyrighted piece of music, sound bite, anything, and claims it. So makes it tough.
Yeah, for sure. And I really sympathize with the musician side of it, because a stream's like half a penny. So I definitely understand. And I think TikTok is actually kind of interesting how they're like blowing songs up and making money from TikTok, blowing up a song on TikTok. And I'm trying to figure out like how you could do a film hosting website where you can use these free songs, the top trending songs, and it counts as a stream if it's in your film. I don't know how I'd personally do that. I'm not in Silicon Valley, but that's something that I've always like looked at like, damn, that's interesting. But the algorithm, man, it'll catch anything. I had to cut a scene out of the film because when I uploaded it to YouTube, it caught a Diana Ross song playing in the pizza shop, and I couldn't even hear it. How?
Yep.
Robots, man.
Yeah, it's crazy. AI.
Yeah, it takes no prisoners. And shout out to AI. I kind of like AI. I'm not scared, but I like it.
We would really like to see, A Bad Day play at the Majestic as well. I've had a couple conversations with my friend Lori Graves about a comedy festival here, but I would like to see maybe a film and comedy festival here where we, take young, aspiring filmmakers like yourself and really display their talent, time, and treasure. And, hopefully if we can't get that done soon, then maybe we figure out how to get A Bad Day up on the silver screen there and at the Majestic.
Hey, well, I'll tell you what, that'd be a good day for me, man. I don't live in Chillicothe anymore, and I wasn't born there, but Chillicothe is the first time I ever had my own room. It's where my, both my parents, they're divorced, but they found their next, partner, and they both own businesses in Chillicothe. My brothers are part of the businesses. It's where all my friends live. It's the coolest place on earth. Every time I go home, I don't ever want to leave. I love looking at the stars. I never get to see stars anymore. I will always love that place. We'll always come back to it. I want to do more there. And man, I just love it.
Yeah. Well, we're awful proud of you. Tell everybody where they can find your stuff. I know you got a link tree. That might be one good place to start, because I know there's a Venmo on there, because Jalen's got to eat, but he's also got to make film. So tell everybody how they can get a hold of you.
Yeah, definitely Venmo me. I just tore off my windshield wipers today because it was frozen solid and I hit the button on accident. So yeah, if I get some windshield wiper money, I appreciate that tenfold. We don't need to worry about the movies yet. Let's get these windshield wipers fixed first. But then yeah, you can I'm on Instagram, black, white, and color 2, the number 2, and my YouTube channel is Jalen Snowden Films. The movie is A Bad Bad Day, and I'm actually going to be uploading pretty soon a featurette, kind of like a documentary, and thanking a lot of people and talking more in depth about the process and everything. And so subscribe, hit that like button, and everything like that matters. So if I hate to ask anybody to do anything, but if you could just like and comment, liked it, even if you didn't, please just help me out. I would appreciate it. We're all in this together. We're all trying.
You just got to like. You just got to subscribe from me.
Yeah, absolutely. And what I've seen of the film. Exactly. Yeah. Make sure we get as many subscribers as we can for Jalen, because he's out there doing God's work, man. So,
That's right.
Jalen, thanks for being on. We appreciate you. We appreciate everything you're trying to do. And we'd love to have you back when that. Well, maybe when those windshield wipers get fixed first, and then maybe after that when the next film comes around.
Yeah, once I fix that, then I definitely want to come in the studio and be with you guys, in person, because I like Zoom. It's a great thing, but I'd like to come and do it formally. And I mean, I just want to say, like, you guys have a really good podcast. You guys both have really, really good voices. I was listening to your podcast all day to kind of prepare, because I wanted to make sure you guys didn't have any little games that you're going to trap me in. And I really the lady you had on that did the film about the dogs in the shelter, man. That podcast. I was sitting there like teared up and stuff. I was like, man, that's what I'm talking about, man. That's what you do. You get a platform, you make a movie, but you say something, you do something positive, man. That's all I want to do. I know it sounds kind of lame, but I want to be positive. I want people to be happy. I want everybody to be happy. So I appreciate what you guys do. I really enjoyed the podcast, and I'll be listening not just to my episode, but to the future ones.
Well, and she's going to appreciate you said that too, because I just had a conversation. I actually came from an event where she was there, and I told her that we were talking to you tonight, and she was like, yeah, I've kind of heard of that, but I really don't know a lot about it. So I'll be looking forward to listening to that episode so we can learn more about that film. So it's the artist group is a great group. It's an insular group, and they love to support each other. So I'm sure you'll get a lot of support from them.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. I appreciate what they did. I mean, this, filmmaking is not easy. So I appreciate anybody that goes and tries at least some, do something. That's all you can do as an artist, is just do and hope for the best. But, you can paint a pretty picnic, but you can't predict the weather.
Yeah, that's right.
That's right. Well, Jalen, thanks again for being on, man. Best of luck to you, and keep doing what you're doing.
Hey, I appreciate it, guys. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks, Jalen.
You're listening to the Feels Like Home podcast with Mike Throne and Marty Ford. Powered by Horizon. This is big. This is gig.
It feels a little strange, but I don't feel alone. We just settled in and it already